Hey, what's going on, guys? Richie Figs here, back with another video, and today, oh my god, what a bombshell of news on Jada Toys front. JUHN, if you're not familiar with, one of the lead representatives over at Jada Toys, goes over anything news, updates with the toy line, had an interview with the Toy MIGOS today. So what we're going to be doing, it was about an hour and 20 minutes long video. If you want to go watch that, I highly suggest it. Today, I'm going to just be going over the cliff notes, really on the Street Fighter line, seeing that's mainly what we cover here. But he covered everything. So if you had any other interest in any of the other lines, wasn't like a ton of news for the other lines, but he did say they were no longer doing Universal Monsters. They had a couple things coming up, I guess, with like the food mascots, but didn't really go over who was coming or anything like that. And then there was that new video game property that they announced last San Diego that I can't remember the name off the top of my head. There was a couple images and things like that he went over Toy News, but the main thing that he did cover in this was Street Fighter. So we got a lot of news there. We got some updates on Wave 3 and Wave 4, what's going on with Player 2 variants and their deluxe versions, and really what's coming up with Street Fighter in general and SDCC. So we got a lot to cover. That's what we're going to do. Let's go. All right, guys, and the main thing that we're going to do in this video, like I said, is just kind of give you the Cliff Note version of everything that they talked about within that interview. So if you want to watch that interview in its entirety, link to the Toy MIGOS live stream will be in the description below. I always send a shout out to them. Make sure you give them a follow and go check out their video, as that's where all this information is coming from. So the first thing that I wanted to cover is Wave 3. Now, they went into great description about Wave 3, and if you're not familiar with what Wave 3 is, it's a lot of the imagery that you're seeing on the screen now. It's going to be CAMMY, it's going to be DJ, and it's going to be GUILE. Now, it sounds like the projections for Wave 3 look to be this summer, if not early fall, for as far as us getting these in hand, as far as them hitting targets. And I hate to say this because the way he was talking, it sounds like Wave 3 might actually be the final wave that we see this year. And that's disappointing to a degree because he did have aspirations. And granted, all the information that he was giving us last time, and the last time that he talked to the MIGOS, was back in December. So how could he possibly know that, these were all guesstimates on timeline that he wanted to get these figures out anyways. And that's kind of what they talked about, is that everybody wants to see these figures so soon that they show kind of like the prototypes and everything, and people get this idea that they're way further along with the figure than they actually are. As I had mentioned in previous videos, that they really go through a lot of tooling in like 3 to 4 different actual prototypes before they submit the final version. They have to do a lot of work with this stuff. So there's just so much more to it and so much time consuming things that go on that people think they're a lot further along than they are. But the way he was talking in the way of Wave 3, that this might be the last wave of the year of 2024. So that's kind of disappointing. He did make it seem that SAGAT was pretty further along, that he was almost ready for tooling, which means it's the final version that they prepped to get it ready for packaging and everything like that. So it looks like Wave 4, other than SAGAT, might be the only possibility coming for 2024. Wave 2023 seems to be coming along and seems to be the final versions you should be able to see at San Diego Comic-Con. And I was hearing that and I'm like, oh god, that seems so far away. But then in all retrospect, it's only like 8 or 9 weeks away. So that's really not too far at all. It's like a month and a half away. So it sounded like a long time when I first heard it. But then I'm like, oh god, it's June. So it's in July. It's really not that far away. But the main thing that he also covered is that there really are no such thing as waves. He said the waves are more just like a figure of speech because these figures don't technically come out in a wave. Like with Marvel Legends, they drop waves all at the same time, where he announces waves of figures in like bunches of 3, but it's not technically a wave. It's not like BLANKA, SAGAT, and Vega are all going to be dropping at the same time. Granted, they are the 4th wave of 3 that they've announced, but it's not technically a wave. It's more just how they announce figures, and they don't all technically drop at the same time. So he didn't want to make it seem like things were called waves, because that's not what they are. It's more just that's how they release the figures in general. So I found that pretty interesting, that they're kind of trying to steer away from actual waves themselves. That's more just how they announce the figures in their entirety. So one of the things about Wave 3 that he did go over, that he had heard some issues about, and a lot of people had actually mentioned in some of the videos where I have covered this figure, is the issue with Cammy's eye size. He said that it's been brought to his attention. He's well aware of the issue, and that it has and will be fixed for the actual figure itself. So that's pretty good. That's nice to know that they're looking and listening to feedback, as a lot of people see these figures. And I had mentioned in any of these videos that these are all prototypes. Most of them are in different stages of actual production. So I think Cammy got out there in some pretty rough form at a lot of these conventions, and people kind of got the wrong idea. But it does sound like, and as you'll see in some of these photos that I have later on in the video, I did take some screenshots from the live stream that you'll see. The eyes have been fixed. And then the next thing is that Wave 3 should have the final product, and the final visibility of the figure should be available at San Diego Comic-Con. So that's interesting, and that made me think, like, I don't know. I just kind of got bummed out when it made it seem like the figure, there were going to be, he said there would be 8 more figures in total that dropped from Jada this year. He said 3 for Mega Man, 3 for Street Fighter, and then there were a couple from that other video game that I really still can't remember off the top of my head. They mentioned it at the last San Diego Comic-Con, but he said there'd be 8 figures dropping this year, and Sagat might still slip in there, but it sounds like Wave 4 is going to go to 2025, which is still kind of upsetting. But you got to remember, guys, they are not a Mattel, they are not a Hasbro, so their production team is much, much smaller than those bigger companies, and you got to remember they are just new to the action figure line, that they can't move as fast as some of these others, and that they really do us a treat and give us a treat by showing these figures early, but at the same time it also does them a disservice because people think they're further along than they actually are. And then the next thing that I see here, another thing in what takes them so long that they had mentioned is everything is a unique sculpt. So they did, the only one that he said that was not really a unique sculpt was Ken, because all they really had to do was just switch the head sculpt on that one, and they basically used the same gi and everything. So Guiles are going to be a little bit different than DJ. DJ is going to be a little bit different than M. Bison. Obviously, Dalsim's going to be better, different than, they're all unique sculpts in their entirety. So that's what takes things a little bit different. He said, yeah, he could have probably used the same sculpt from Chun-Li for Cammy, but he didn't want to, and he didn't care about the production cost. He wanted Cammy to have her own sculpt, so that's what they did. Very, very cool. You don't see a company do that very often, so that's pretty cool. The next thing they really talked about was kind of like the availability of Jada toys. He mentioned that it seemed like international, the Jada figures were widely more available than the U.S. He said it's been kind of a challenge getting into some of the other retailers out there outside of Target. While they are sending more figures to Target, and more Targets, it sounds like, are starting to carry the line, that it's been harder to get into some of the other major retailers that are out there. So I found that interesting, that even that you can't ever find these figures to begin with at Target, that it's still not enough proof to really convince these retailers to start picking and carrying the Jada line, where it seems like the international companies have a lot more faith, and they're able to get more production given out there. And with that, he did say that a lot of the Player 2 colorways are really just filler in between the different figures coming out. He said it's a way to keep their name out there without having new figures dropping all the time, because some of the new figures are taking, longer than expected. So found that interesting that they are going to make these Player 2s exclusive to the retailer, and that they said a couple of them might show up on the Jada site, but it seems like it sounds like there might be some Entertainment Earth, some Big Bad Toy stores, maybe an Amazon exclusive, different things like that could be coming. but it sounds like Player 2, just the colorways, not the deluxe versions, are going to be select retail exclusives, which, I mean, if you haven't seen already, that's kind of what everybody had gathered anyway. But as far as Player 2 deluxe editions, he really didn't cover those at all. It made it seem like those were going to be slated for the Jada Toy exclusive website store, which they did with Evil Ryu. And he didn't mention anything about the Chun-Li that had leaked, the Fei Long that had leaked, or Evil Ken, but it does sound like those things are going to be coming for SDCC slates, along, just like the Evil Ryu. But one of the main things that he did kind of talk about and cover, and it was kind of hard to hear, but you can do what you want because he didn't actually verify it, but he said, without it being announced officially by Jada Toys, the rumors you can put 0% stock in. So to me, what that meant to me and how I interpreted that is that he had seen the news and the reportings of Mortal Kombat, and they did not mention Mortal Kombat once in this live stream, which leaves some hope there because obviously the Toy MIGOS have heard rumblings about them acquiring the Mortal Kombat licensing, but the way that JUHN went about it, he said, if it's not announced by Jada Toys, then you cannot take it serious, and that's why I always, I try to make it clear when I'm announcing anything, and I made it very clear in that Mortal Kombat video that it had never been announced. There was all rumors, kind of stuff like that, but it seemed likely. But it almost made it seem like he said, I didn't want people taking a rumor, and then if it didn't come to fruition within the SDCC announcements, then they'd be severely disappointed, which kind of, it really felt like he was talking about the Mortal Kombat acquisition in that sentence. He didn't say it, and granted, they never talked about it, so I don't know. It could have been one of two things. One, he was prepping people to not be, to not be disappointed if they didn't announce they acquired Mortal Kombat at SDCC, or it could have been a little reverse psychology, making it seem like they hadn't acquired it, and then they are going to have a big announcement at SDCC. But the way that he phrased it very much seemed like he was addressing Mortal Kombat without saying Mortal Kombat. And the way that I've seen it, and what I've kind of gathered as I've done some more research on the Mortal Kombat license as a whole, is it looks like NetherRealm and Mortal Kombat has stripped the license from all companies making their products. So I don't know if maybe they were the first ones that got in, or if they're just really not working with any other companies at this time. So very, very interesting. You can kind of take that for what you will. If you go back and watch it, you can definitely get a sense that he is trying to address the Mortal Kombat rumors. But like I said, maybe he's trying to do a little bit of reverse psychology, saying it's not happening, and then at SDCC, they blow everyone away. He's just prepping everyone that if it doesn't happen, don't be severely disappointed. And then the last thing, they are going to be at this anime con that he had mentioned, but they're not going to really show anything new that we haven't seen before. All new items are slated for SDCC, and I don't know if each, because there's different Comic-Cons. There's New York, there's San Diego, and there's one more that I'm missing. But it sounds like they're going to be showing all the new items at those cons, which are only about a month and a half away. So that's what's going to be coming. So the last thing here is he just did have some updated images of the Wave 3. So we're going to take a look at those real quick, and then we'll wrap and go over the overview and wrap everything up. Let's take a look. Taking a look at the first photo here is one of the final production images, or one of the farthest camis that we have along right now. Looking a lot better. As you can see, they have addressed the neck issue. So a lot of people were concerned about Cammy's neck at that England Toy Fair. It was a very early prototype, I guess, but as you can see here, everything's looking great. I mean, she's got the thickness in the legs, she's got the broad shoulders, she's got her little leotard, and it does turn out that those ponytail, it does have bendy wire in it. So very, very cool. Nice little photo there. Next photo here is going to be just the back shot of Cammy. As you can see the braids. They do have that bendy wire. As you can see, the right one's got a nice little curve along with the left one, and you can see they went all the way with the leotard. There is some cheekage, folks. There is going to be cheekage on the Cammy figure. They said they weren't going to steer away from that. But yeah, I know everyone who doesn't want to see a back shot from Cammy. But there it is. taking a look at the next photo here, it's just a still shot of Cammy in all her glory with the articulation. As you can see, is gonna be articulated as hell, where she's gonna be able to do some amazing poses. And then this next one here, just one more photo showing her articulation, and just really, he said that is probably going to be a favorite and probably has better articulation than even the Chun-Li, which is crazy to hear because Chun-Li has got to be one of the most articulated female figures that are on the market right now. The next one here is just a picture of DJ. I only grabbed this one particular just because those braids or ponytails that he has on the back of his head are going to be articulated, it looks like. And I just wanted to use that photo to kind of show that off just because there's not a lot of there's not a lot to DJ. He wears baggy pants and no shirt. The only thing he's really got, as far as accessories would be his ponytails on the back of his head. So I just thought that was cool. Wanted to be able to show you guys that. Durability on that, I hope, is going to be well and they don't break off eventually, but I don't know how much, articulating braid poses I'm going to be doing anyways, but just wanted to show you guys, thought that was pretty cool. Next photo here was one of the final product images of the new Guile figure, which looks a lot better than some of the other ones. Look how much bulkier he looks. Look at the shoulders. Look at the chest. They said JUHN had mentioned how many times they had to redo the chest and the upper body just to really get it right to capture the essence of Guile, just because he's a big dude. And then he did show off some of the wrinklage in the shirt. But the cool thing was those big United States flag tattoos that he had on his shoulders. Both shoulders huge. I think this figure could be one of my favorites of the year, easily. This next photo just showing off how big the arms actually are on the Guile, and also getting a pretty good look at that United States flag on the shoulder. Very, very cool, and he wanted to show off and really give you an idea of how much articulation you're going to get in those arms with Guile, even having as big as arms that he has. Very, very cool. Like I said, out of all the ones that are coming up, Guile was going to be my next favorite. I think it was Dalsim was really the one I was looking forward to the most, but then Guile was right up there. And seeing that Wave 4 might be out of the picture for this year, this one right here, this is the one I'm going to be after. And this would be the one I'd really want to see a player 2 of. I love the blue and the green. Man, I can't wait. All right, one of the last photos here that we did take from the live stream and just kind of give you an overlook at, it's just really the size difference between Guile and Cammy. As you can see, man, Cammy out here looking like a damn pear, man. They really went all in on the curvature of Cammy. Very, very cool figure. That'll look really great next to Guile. And then you can just see Guile is a big dude, man. Like that figure right there, oh, that is going to be fun to pose around. And I don't know, the only other one I've really been impressed with is Storm's Guile, but it's so out of scale, and it's just its own scale in entirety, where you're really going to be able to mesh in this Guile if you wanted to add him to your G.I. Joe line, if you wanted to mix him in with the Marvel Legends line. Like, he's around that scale that you can really get some things done there. So I am so excited for the Guile, and looking at Cammy standing next to him, I'm not too unexcited for Cammy either. So that's one of the last photo, guys. Let's wrap it all up, and we'll let you go. All right, guys, and that is going to be kind of a wrap-up, kind of the cliff notes of everything that we had heard from JUHN's interview with the Toy Migos. Again, if you want to check out that live stream in its entirety, as he covers everything Jada line outside of, he didn't really touch on anything from the car line. So if you're interested in the car line at all, he does not cover that at all, mainly just the action figures and what's going to be coming up. Then I highly encourage you to go check out the Toy Migos YouTube. Link to that channel will be in the description below. Make sure you give it a thumbs up. Make sure you follow if you're not already. The main thing I wanted to end on this Blanka image is because he had talked about the struggles with the Blanka. He said that has been the main thing that they've had trouble with in the Wave 4. Technically, they're not waves anymore, but the announcement of the next, it was number 4 in the list of 3 figures that they have. I guess I'll still call it Wave 4, but he said the articulation with Blanka being such a big, thick figure and trying to figure out ways to being able to get him to his max crouch ability as he had mentioned in the other, no, he's not going to be able to get into a perfect ball. That's insanity. I mean, you really can't expect that out of an articulated figure, but you can get it close, he said, and that's really what they've been focusing on in trying to figure out ways to make the head sculpts look good, to make the body look good, and contort and articulate in the way that you can make it look its best. So that's another thing that you don't see toy lines really do. Like, you will really see toy lines just kind of get what they need to and then put it out. Like, JUHN's a perfectionist, if you haven't gathered this already. Like, he wants these things. This is his baby. This is his project. This is a work of art for him. So he really wants these figures to be able to perform like they can in the game. And he said that BLANKA was just really been a challenging figure so far. Probably the hardest one out of the line. As far as other figures, it sounds like things could be coming for SDCC. So we really got to keep an eye out for that event, as any toy line that's going to be there has got their latest and greatest creations there. But he had also mentioned, as far as a wrap up, that there will be announcements and things coming before the event. So I assume they're going to announce the Deluxe Player 2 editions before SDCC. He said within the next month we should have some more news regarding some upcoming things regarding JADA. So I definitely keep an eye out on. He said they plan on announcing a lot of that through their actual website. So if you don't follow Next Level JADA, go to that website, type in Next Level JADA in your Google browser. It'll take you right to the JADA store. It does have a newsletter that you can sign up, but it sounds like we will be getting some announcements of some upcoming Street Fighter products that will be coming before SDCC. Which will probably be slated to be released at SDCC. So that's something there. And then just to kind of go over the updates, CAMMY, her eyes are going to be fixed. Comic-Con is going to have the final versions of Wave 3, which is going to be deejay, CAMMY, and GUILE. Wave 4 is looking like not to be projected for this year, outside of maybe SAGAT, he said, was furthest along, so we might see SAGAT towards the end of the year. And then that's really it. Like I said, he said a lot without really saying a lot. He said don't trust the rumors. He doesn't want you to be disappointed for Comic-Con if you had seen something and then it not have to come to fruition at Comic-Con. So maybe pump the brakes on the Mortal Kombat. Granted, they never said the name Mortal Kombat. So the fact that they didn't even address it at all does leave open a little glimmer of hope that maybe that's a big announcement. He didn't mention anything about a big announcement at SDCC. He did say just kind of stifle your expectations on what to expect. It sounds like we'll probably see some ideas. Maybe, I don't know if they're going to have actual models of Wave 5 or the next 3 figures that are coming in the line. But it does sound like anything new that we can expect for Street Fighter SDCC is where we're going to see that. So, guys, a little bit of a longer video today. Again, shout out to Toy MIGOS. Make sure you go check out that live stream below if you guys want to see the entire video in its entirety. And that's it for me. Next video for me is going to be that Fei Long. I'm sorry that video is taking a little bit longer than expected. So expect that video either tomorrow or Monday as far as Fei Long coming. I have one from the new factory and the old factory. They did talk a little bit about that in the live stream as well, and how all new figures moving forward are going to be from the new factory, and that, you know, I will cover that in the Fei Long video. How about that? Anything about the new factory and its production and quality, we'll talk about in the Fei Long video. So make sure you got notifications on for that. And if you are new, make sure you subscribe, like the video. I will see you on the next one. Richie Figs, later.